Once upon a time, in a quiet valley surrounded by green hills and whispering trees, there stood a tiny, crooked cottage. Its thatched roof sagged from the weight of many seasons, and smoke rose gently from a chimney that leaned a little too far to the left. In that cottage lived a poor widow and her only son, a cheerful, bright-eyed boy named Jack. Life had not been kind to them. Their days were spent patching old clothes, mending fences, and trying to stretch their last bits of bread and milk. Their only source of hope and survival was a gentle brown cow named Milky White, whose milk had kept them alive through many long winters. But one morning, even Milky White gave no milk. The pail was empty, and so were their hearts. Jack's mother sighed deeply and said, "Jack, we have no choice left. Take Milky White to the market. Sell her for as much as you can. It's the only way we'll survive." Though his heart ached, Jack nodded. He kissed his mother's hand, took Milky White's rope, and set off down the dusty road toward the village market. The sun was soft that morning, golden and slow, stretching over the valley. Birds called faintly in the trees. Jack walked quietly, lost in thought, when a strange man appeared by the roadside. He wore a long, green cloak that shimmered like leaves under sunlight and had eyes that twinkled with mischief. "Good day, young man," said the stranger. "That's a fine cow you have there." "Yes, sir," Jack replied politely. "I'm taking her to market to sell. My mother and I have fallen on hard times." The man smiled, his eyes glinting. "Ah, I see. But perhaps I can offer you something better than gold." He reached into his pocket and held out his hand. Lying in his palm were 5 small beans, shimmering faintly with blue and green light. "These," he whispered, "are magic beans. Plant them tonight, and by morning, wonders beyond your dreams will rise from the earth." Jack stared in surprise. "Magic beans?" The man nodded. "Magic indeed. You must trust in what grows unseen." Jack hesitated. He had no gold, no silver, and nothing left to lose, only hope. And so, with a racing heart, he traded Milky White for the handful of glowing beans. When he returned home, proud and breathless, he showed the beans to his mother. Her face went pale. "Beans? You sold our cow for beans?" she cried, her voice trembling between anger and despair. "Oh, Jack, how could you be so foolish?" She threw the beans out the window, tears filling her eyes. "Now we'll starve for sure." That night, Jack lay in bed, silent and ashamed, listening to the wind rattle the windows. He could hear his mother quietly sobbing by the fire until sleep finally claimed him. But just before dawn, something strange began to happen. Outside the cottage, the soil stirred. The beans shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and from them, green shoots burst forth, climbing higher and higher into the sky. The vines twisted and coiled, thick as tree trunks, their leaves gleaming like emerald glass. When morning came, Jack opened his eyes and gasped. Where the beans had fallen stood a giant beanstalk, so tall that its top disappeared into the clouds. "Mother," he cried, "look, the beans were magic after all." But his mother's face filled with fear. "Don't climb that thing, Jack. You'll fall and be killed." Jack looked up at the endless green spiral reaching into the heavens. Curiosity, wonder, and a strange pull of destiny filled his heart. Before his mother could stop him, he began to climb. Higher and higher he went, past the rooftops, past the birds, through the soft, cool mist of the clouds, until at last he reached the top. And there, before him, stretched a strange, beautiful land made entirely of silver clouds and golden light. In the distance stood a castle so tall its towers pierced the sky. As Jack approached, he met a giant woman standing by the castle gates. She was enormous, taller than a tree, but her face was kind and gentle. "Good morning, ma'am," Jack said bravely. "I'm hungry and far from home. Could you spare me something to eat?" The giantess frowned softly. "Poor boy, I'd gladly help you, but if my husband finds you here, he'll eat you for his supper." Still, her heart softened, and she led Jack inside. Giving him a piece of bread bigger than his head and a jug of milk large enough to swim in. Just as Jack began to eat, a deep rumble shook the castle walls. Thump, thump, thump. The ground trembled with every step. "Oh no," the giantess whispered. "My husband's coming. Quick, hide!" Jack scrambled into the oven, peeking through the cracks just as the door swung open. A shadow filled the room. The giant, tall as the ceiling, with eyes like burning coals. He sniffed the air. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." "You smell nothing but the wind," his wife said calmly. "You've been out hunting too long." The giant grunted, slumped into his chair, and dropped a heavy sack of gold coins onto the table. Soon, his snores rattled the floor. Jack crept from the oven, grabbed one small bag of gold, and raced out the door. Down the beanstalk he fled, clutching the treasure to his chest. His mother could hardly believe her eyes when he showed her the gold. They laughed and cried, their worries forgotten. For a while, life was good. The roof was repaired, the pantry filled, and warmth returned to their cottage. But gold runs out quickly, and soon hunger came again. Jack looked up at the beanstalk, now half hidden by clouds. "I must go back," he said. "Perhaps there's more to find." "Don't, Jack," his mother pleaded. "You've been lucky once. Don't tempt fate again." But Jack's curiosity was stronger than fear. The next morning, he climbed once more. When he reached the castle, the giantess frowned. "You again? If he catches you this time, he'll eat you alive." But she hid him once more, pity softening her heart. And when the giant came home, his voice thundered louder than ever. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." Again his wife soothed him. And after eating, he called, "Bring me my hen." A plump white hen was placed before him. "Lay," he commanded, and to Jack's astonishment, the hen laid a golden egg. When the giant fell asleep, Jack crept forward, stole the hen, and raced down the beanstalk. From then on, he and his mother lived in comfort, for the hen laid golden eggs whenever they wished. But Jack could not resist one final climb. He told himself it would be the last, only to see what else awaited beyond the clouds. When he reached the castle once again, the giantess warned, "You're foolish, boy. Leave while you can." But Jack hid as before. Soon the giant thundered home, and his roar filled the hall. "Fee, fi, fo, fum, bring me my harp." A beautiful golden harp was set before him, its strings shining like sunlight. When the giant said, "Sing," a harp began to play a song so haunting and sweet that tears filled Jack's eyes. But when the giant slept, Jack crept forward and grabbed the harp. The harp cried out, "Master, help me!" The giant woke with a roar. Jack ran for his life, the harp clutched tight in his arms. The giant's footsteps thundered behind him as he scrambled down the beanstalk. "Mother, bring me the axe!" he shouted. Together they swung. Once, twice, the beanstalk cracked, shuddered, and then, with a mighty crash, fell. The giant tumbled from the clouds, crashing into the earth below, never to rise again. The beanstalk withered away, leaving only the quiet blue sky above. From that day on, Jack and his mother lived in peace. The golden hen laid her shining eggs, the harp sang softly by the fire, and their cottage, once filled with worry, became a home of joy. But sometimes, when the sun sank low and the clouds glowed gold, Jack would stand outside and gaze upward, remembering that towering beanstalk that had once reached the heavens. He smiled, knowing he had climbed not for gold, but for courage, and for the magic that grows when one dares to believe. Moral: courage and curiosity can turn even the smallest seed into something extraordinary.